Good morning and welcome. It's another beautiful morning to be reviewing some newspaper headlines trending from tech to innovation, science, and everything that is around the continent at large, the world. As it is riding on the lips of all citizens, it matters to us. Now we're diving into the first newspaper front page, and which we'll be looking at the Punch newspaper front page, where we see that PDP crisis deepens as Abuja court holds convention in page 14. And if you look at that same page, we see that Tinubu Governor Sultan Grace Editors Conference today, and only 44% of social benefits reach the poor Nigerians. World Bank has come out to say in page 27 of that newspaper front page. And that same page 27, we see that Nigerian debt may hit 193 trillion naira with new loans. And the big headline in page 2. House shuts down plenary amid tension over budget. Over 45 bills, export stalled, and Rep grumbles over the inadequate funding during 10's closed door section. And if you look beneath that, you would also see the World Cup playoff. Eagles boycott training over bonus in page 45. And in page 12, we see the tension as Wike soldier clash over ex-naval chief land. And in page 12, we see the NDLEA US UK unravel 338 billion naira global cocaine network. Now looking into some of the headlines on that newspaper front page, the first of the headline we're looking at is the House of Representatives abruptly adjourned its plenary sections on Tuesday after 10's closed door meeting over disagreements surrounding the 2026 budget. The Speaker Tajuddin Abbas led the section that ended with addressing a single item on the day's agenda. Lawmakers clashed over alleged poor handling of budget process and the federal government's failure to release funds for ongoing projects. The confusion followed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's request for the House of approval of 1.15 trillion loan to cover the 2025 budget deficit. A move many lawmakers reportedly opposed due to the grievances over unpaid allowances and poor constituency funding. The story behind the loan and the rest is essentially about the clash between Nigerian government and lawmakers over funding priorities. And the government, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, requested the House of Representatives to approve 1.15 trillion naira loan to uncover the budget deficit for 2025. The idea that this loan would provide the money needed to keep government operations running. However, many lawmakers opposed this because it is not necessary and they saw it as standing against borrowing, but because they were having they didn't see it just as standing against borrowing, but because they had other deeper issues to actually tackle. This was an upset of unpaid allowances, poor funding for projects and their constituencies, and they also saw the mismanagement of National Assembly own budget. Some members felt that while overall budget had increased significantly, the money won't be distributed fairly, leaving them and the people reasons financially strained. Now moving to another headline on that same front page, you see that the 21st All Nigerian Editor Conference is starting today in Abuja, bringing together 500 editors, government officials and academics, organized by the National Nigerian Guild of Editors. The 2 days event is themed Democratic Government and National Cohesion, the role of editors, and we'll explore how journalism can strengthen democracy, unity and ethical reporting in Nigeria, especially ahead of the 2027 election. Key discussions will cover judiciary integrity, political reforms, economic challenges, national security, fake news, and the impact of AI in journalism. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is expected to officially open the conference, while notable figures like the Sultan of Sokoto and the prominent media leaders with their chair sections. Corporate partners such as Airpeace and NNPC are supporting this event. In the conference, several key issues will be tackled. The main topics include strengthening democracy as well as others, and also fake news, tackling fake news in the country. Now, addressing this issue can help Nigerians in several ways by focusing on democratic government. Editors will help leaders to be accountable for everything and be transparent for every of their doings in the government. Also, discussing national cohesion encourages among diverse communities, reducing conflict. And the conversation about judicial integrity and political reforms can highlight many improved justice ways or responsible ways of political processing and fairer political processing. We also see that there will be tackling of fake news and responsible use of AI journalism, which will help ensure citizens in the country to get accurate informations, not just from their social media, from also media organizations that will be passing us some news from now. Now moving into another beautiful headline on that same front page, we see that a new World Bank report shows that Nigerian social welfare programs aren't helping most people who need them. Even though the government spends billions of naira each year for fighting poverty, only about 44% of the benefits actually gets to reach the poor Nigerians. One of the problem is that the National Social Safety Net program will pay a fixed amount per hold rather than per person. This means a larger, poorer family gets lesser help per individual, leaving many without meaningful support. The report also points out that Nigeria has spent very little on social protection, just 0.14% of the GDP, compared to the global average of 1.5% as a result of poverty and hardly disease. While the government says that around 8.5 million household has received payment from digital crash grant scheme, the World Bank says that the effort is too small and poorly organized to make a real difference. Another concern about the 60% of social welfare spending comes from the foreign donors, which can leave many Nigerians vulnerable and external aid drop. On that same front page, we see another beautiful headline that the National Drug Law Agency, NDLA, recently seized a massive shipment of 1,000 kilograms of cocaine worth about $235 million, that is 338 million naira, in Tunisian land port in Lagos. The drugs were hidden in an empty container, and the discovery led to the joint investigation with the US and DEA and also the UK National Crime Agency to track the international cartel behind it, and NDLA has arrested several suspects nationwide, including the wanted drug baron trying to flee the country. The seizure is significant because the largest single cocaine bust at Tunisian port is highlighting that Nigeria is ongoing a fight against drug trafficking, and the drug arrested tens of thousands or suspects were secured as thousands of convictions were showing that the country commitment to its tackling the most domestic international drug crimes is ongoing. Now looking at another headline on that same front page, we see that recently the US President Donald Trump have made a statement suggesting possible military action in Nigeria over the attack on Christians. However, the US Congress bill believes that Trump is unlikely to take military action and would probably rely on economic sanctions instead. But such sanctions could limit funding for terrorist groups like Boko Haram and restrict movement of armed militants. Meanwhile, the Nigerian government has engaged in a diplomatic talk with the US to claim the tension and explain the country's complex security and religious challenges. Nigeria officials insist that the violence is being misrepresented and Nigerians remain committed to religious freedom. Now we see that the US has found a way to actually tackle the issue going on in Nigeria, saying they're going to come from an economic sanction route and not a military action route anymore. Now moving to the next newspaper front page, we will be diving into the Daily Trust newspaper. On that front page, we see that why senators wanted to impeach Akpabio. That story can be found in page 12 of that newspaper. And if you look beside it in page 5, we see that lawmakers CSO knock Wiki over alterations with soldiers. And if you look beside it also in page 25, we see that stock market loses 4.6 trillion, highest in decade. And the big headline, ongoing back on convention, PDP comes out to say. And we see that travelers spend hours on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in page 32, as well as in page 6, we see that 2 killed on as Katsina communities protest over bandit attack. And if you look beneath that newspaper, we see that in page 38, that 48 hours to World Cup playoff, Super Eagles boycott training. Now looking into one of the headlines on that particular newspaper, we see that the people, which is the big headline, we see that the People Democratic Party, PDP, is moving ahead with plans for its national convention on the November 15th to 16th, with though the Federal High Court injunction temporarily blocked it. The injunction was requested by Disule Lamido, a former governor and aspirant for the party national chairman, who urged that he was unfairly denied the chance to buy a nomination form and the party didn't follow its own rules for notifying members. Despite this, the PDP officials are dismissing the court order, citing a Supreme Court ruling that gives political parties authorities over their internal matters, and some party members warn that the ongoing legal disputes could create uncertainty or force the party to appoint an interim management committee if the convention cannot happen. Others see this legal challenge as attempt to weaken the opposition. Meanwhile, preparation for counting with the organization committee inspecting venue and finalizing the logistics, signaling that the party intends to hold the convention as scheduled. In short, we see that PDP is facing a legal and internal challenge that needs to be solved before the meeting that has been scheduled. Now, moving into the next newspaper front page. And the next newspaper we will be looking at is the New Telegraph front page, where we see on that front page that Tinubu to declare NGE annual conference open at Aso Rock, with governors, ministers, and media leaders in attendance in page 2 of that newspaper. In page 3, we see that 2027, Kalu tips Tinubu for easy victory, backs Trump's position on Nigeria. And in that same page 2, we see that a cadal slipped Buhari from from carrying out electoral reforms, Amici comes out to say. And if you look beside it, moving to another headline, we see that Wike dashes with naval officers over access to land in Abuja. And if you look at the big headline in page 2, 3, 4, 7, 28 and 29 of that newspaper, we see that targeted killings. We have opened channels of communication with Trump. Federal government has come out to make the claim. And they see that Sanwo-Olu will defeat insecurity as well as others. Without hindrance, Nigerian armed forces can protect West Africa. Adebayo comes out to affirm that. And also, Tinubu government spent $801 million on U.S. military assets in 18 months. IMPI has come out to say on that particular news. And if you move beneath that newspaper front page, in page 4, we see that again, cuts through PDP from holding convention, INEC from recognizing outcome in page 4. And in page 8, beside that, we see that the JAPA, we have stopped 294 Nigerians from exiting, denied 332 migrant entries. NIS has come out to say as 36 human trafficking and child labor victims were rescued in that particular news. If you look beneath it, on the green highlight, we see that on page 27, not all skin diseases are infectious, says the dermatologist in Nigeria. Now moving to another newspaper headline, front page, we see that in the front page of the Vanguard newspaper and page 9, Wike soldiers breaks over alleged land grabbing in Abuja. And in page 57 of that same newspaper, we see that Tinubu reform winning not Badaru and think tank has come out to say. And in page 19, we see that Edun pledges review of capital gain tax to boost investors' confidence. And in page 8, all set for editors' conference in Abuja today. And if you look at the big headline in page 5, we see that Trump diplomatic engagement yielding results. Federal government has come out to say, alleging certain U.S.-based lobby groups working on the misrepresentation of Nigerian situation, and the federal government not doing enough to end Christian killings, the U.S. congressman came out to say, as well as Tinubu choirs meet behind closed doors to actually tackle this particular situation. Now, if you look beneath that newspaper headline and that picture on the front page, we see that we have approved duty-free importation for aircraft spare parts. Kayamo has come out to say in page 9 of that newspaper. And in page 10, we see that no governor can complain of poor funding under Tinubu regime. Sanwo-Olu has come out to make that claim. And in page 8, PDP crisis, Lamido secures another court order stopping convention in that newspaper. And in page 11, we see that Anambra Pope, Soludo, and deputy receive certificate of return from INEC. And that is it on that particular newspaper, but we'll be looking at one of the headlines, which states that Nigeria and the United States are engaged in diplomatic talk to ease the tension following President Trump's remark about the alleged attack on Christians in Nigeria. The federal government says that these talks are yielding positive results, clarifying misunderstandings about Nigerian security challenges, which are complex and multifaceted. The Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, highlighted the misrepresentation by the US-based lobby group connected to prescribed patriot organization in Nigeria and called for strengthening cooperation in combating terrorism in the country. The U.S. Congressman Bill has expressed the disappointment in Nigeria's handling of attack on Christians and advocating targeting economic sanctions rather than military actions, as probably said, while emphasizing that both Christians and moderate Muslims are being attacked domestically. Nigerian authorities, including President Tinubu and Chief Army Staff, reports that there's a progress in security operation, particularly in the northwest, and a joint military effort ascribed neutralizing terrorists. And also we see that Archbishop Nwachukwu of the Veterinarian said that Nigerian insecurity is self-inflicted, stemming from division and intolerance, and called for unity. While faith-based and social-political groups, including CAN and AFRIN, urged dialogue, intelligence-based strategies, and limited targeted actions rather than full-scale foreign military intervention. Former Governor Orji Uzo Kalu supported U.S. claims about killings in Nigeria, but emphasized that the U.S. targets terrorist group, not Tinubu's government, and the Nigerian forces are already acting on the intelligence probably shared internationally. Now moving to the next newspaper front page. We'll be looking at the Tribune newspaper front page, where we see that there is a high cost hit bank inflation bites small depositors hard in page 3 of that newspaper. If you look beside it in page 4, we see that there's a 210 probe as Senate rejects NNPCL explanation and insists that it must be refunded of all the money that's to the government back. And in page 5, we see that UBA commits $102 million direct investment in child security. And if you look at the big headline in page 3, only 84 out of identified 1,978 entry points as REP begins probe to border security architectures funding. And Customs discovers 2.4 billion cocaine instead export box at PTML terminal in page 26 of that newspaper. And in page 28, we see that gunmen abduct 6 defense ministry directors in Kogi. And in health, page 4, we see that music may help reduce dementia by up to 40%. Study has come out to say. And in page 3, we see that Sanwo-Olu at Awera's house We will defeat insecurity. Others advocate stronger unity, least gains of renewed hope agenda. And in page 2, Tinubu must show determination to flush out Boko Haram's sympathizers from military. Prof. Yemi has come out to say. In page 3, we see that Wike military officers clash over alleged illegal land development. And in page 26, gridlock on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway keep many stranded on the road for hours. Now on one of the news headlines, we see that the inaugurated AC committee, Speaker of House Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, has come out to make, that particular claim. And that's it we have on our newspaper front page for today. But before we go on our quick break, when we come back, we'll be looking at our tech news.
Number 2, advanced neurotechnology beyond BCIs. Brain-computer interfaces grabbed headlines when Neuralink implanted its first chip in 2024. But neurotechnology is much broader. Researchers are testing non-invasive brain stimulation to treat depression and PTSD, while companies like Kernel are developing helmets that can monitor brain activity with unprecedented detail. Clinical trials are exploring personalized brain therapies for epilepsy and Alzheimer's. In 2023, the U.S. NIH launched its Brain Initiative 2.0, investing billions in advanced neurotech. By 2026, these innovations could expand from medical use into wellness and cognitive enhancement.
If you're just joining us, this is your newspaper review on Idea Television. Before we went on break, we're looking at different newspaper front pages, and now we'll be diving into our tech news for today. And on the tech news for today, we see that Australia enforces world first ban on teens using social.
Number 2, advanced neurotechnology beyond BCIs. Brain-computer interfaces grabbed headlines when Number 1, synthetic biology advances. Synthetic biology is pushing science into new territory. Using AI-guided gene editing, researchers are engineering organisms to produce biofuels, biodegradable plastics, and even synthetic meat. In 2023, Ginkgo Bioworks announced partnerships to design microbes that can manufacture sustainable chemicals at scale. Moderna and BioNTech are expanding mRNA technology beyond COVID vaccines to treat cancer and rare genetic diseases. The global synthetic biology market is expected to surpass $30 billion by 2030. By 2026, the line between biology and technology will blur even further, making synthetic biology one of the most transformative fields of the decade. So there you have it, 15 more technologies that, alongside the first 17 we covered, are set to define 2026. Together, they show how quickly innovation is moving beyond our screens and into every corner of our life, from the materials we use to the way we connect and even how we think. And if you missed part 1, make sure to check it out next. If you made it this far, let us know what you think in the comment section below. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now.
Welcome back. Sorry for that break in transmission. Before we went on that break, we're looking at the story on Australian enforcing world first ban on teens using social media platform. We see that in the world first move, Australia is set to ban children under 16 from using social media platforms starting on December 10th. And there's a global grant like Meta and Snapchat are preparing to detect or deactivate accounts belonging to minors, affecting more than 1 million profiles across the country. The new law passed earlier this year aims to protect young people from online harm after growing evidence linked to social media use of anxiety, bullying, and other mental health issues. Under the regulation, companies such as Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat must take responsible steps to block users under 16 or face a fine of up to $49 million for failing to comply to this particular policy. To identify the undergraded users, platform will rely on existing artificial intelligence system that estimates a person's age based on their online behaviors and photo-based verification. Teenagers who believe that they had been wrongly blocked will be directed to special age assurance app where they can prove their age using selfies or ID documents. For everyday Australians, this means that young users will soon receive a message giving them three options to download their data, freeze their profile, or lose access completely. Experts say this move could bring both benefits and challenges. And on the other hand, the major step is marked towards keeping children safe from harmful content online and online explorations. And other news says that this can cause frustration. Media can increase anxiety and depression, as also poor self-esteem among teenagers and ages of these children among the age that is listed by Australian ban. We also see that there's a limit exposure to harmful content. There'll be a limited exposure to these children or of these children to harmful content that will be showing on social media platforms, and it also encourages real life interaction, helping the children to be able to interact with not just their parents or their household, but also their society, and be able to increase their workforce in the educational system. Now we also see that to set a global example, Australia is setting a global example, and we hope to see that other countries actually learn and take part in this particular reform. Now we'll be drawing the curtain on today's newspaper review. But before we go, we urge you to follow us on all our social media platforms as displayed on your screen, and do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel on Idea Television so that pop-up notifications can come as when due whenever programs like this come up. And do well to stay glued to your screen, because more innovative programs will be coming up after now. We'll be having the Idea Morning Digest. It's a beautiful program where we see so many of our media analysts tackling some news as well as the discussion segment. And now we'll be drawing the curtain. But before I go, I would urge you to always stay informed and make sure the information you're getting are legit, and stay safe in the country. Bye for now.